The three eyes of Atlas prepare for passage, while a fleet of camera robots and orbital devices stand ready to take photographs. Something unusual happened on October the 3rd, 2025, when the mysterious interstellar object Three Eyes of Atlas approached Mars at a distance of only 18 million miles. But what makes this story truly amazing is that for several hours after this historic flight, NASA's site completely went offline. It was neither a technical failure nor scheduled maintenance. The complete shutdown of the government agency silenced the American Space Agency just when we needed answers the most. The most important question is whether we encountered a technological object or just a natural phenomenon. We hope to learn more soon. Even more shocking is that amateur astrophotographers have already downloaded raw images from NASA's rovers, showing a faint trace exactly where the Three Eyes of Atlas should have been. The timing seems too convenient, especially considering it's not just a cosmic stone. This is an object that defies all known laws of physics, glowing bright green when it shouldn't, made of unexplainable metals, moving in such a straight trajectory that it seems almost intentional. What NASA doesn't want you to see could change everything we know about our place in the universe. If you are interested in cosmic mysteries that challenge everything we consider true, subscribe to our channel as we delve into stories that the mainstream does not cover. Let me paint you a picture of how strange this whole situation really is. The Three Eyes of Atlas. This is what scientists call the alien from another star system that approached Mars on October 3rd. This was supposed to be humanity's best chance to obtain detailed images and data about possibly the most unusual object ever discovered in our solar system. Several orbital spacecraft were in perfect position, including NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter with its high-resolution camera, Mars Express from the European Space Agency, and the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. These spacecraft were lined up like in the front rows of the decade's space event, but then something unprecedented happened. At the moment when the data was supposed to arrive, an official statement appeared on NASA's website. Due to the lack of federal government funding, NASA is not updating this site. 15,000 NASA employees were sent home without pay. An agency that sent people to the moon and explores the farthest corners of space suddenly went silent at a critical moment. This is where it gets really interesting. While official NASA channels were down, civilian scientists did not remain idle. An astrophotographer named Simon Schmosh took matters into his own hands. He gained access to publicly available raw images from the Perseverance rover and began stacking several exposures together. What he discovered was simply breathtaking. A faint flicker of light is observed in the sky of Mars at the point where, according to predictions, an object called Tri-Eye Atlas was supposed to appear. Consider the astonishing synchronicity. We have an object that has puzzled scientists for several months, and it is approaching another planet in our solar system, while the American Space Agency, the organization with the most advanced technology in the world, suddenly cannot explain what they are observing. It's like watching the best detective, who seems to have fallen silent just when he should unveil the greatest mystery of the century. But let's talk about why the Three-Eye Atlas raises so many questions. This object is significantly different from ordinary space debris. When astronomers first noticed it in July, they assumed it was just another interstellar comet, like those seen before. However, this initial assumption turned out to be significantly mistaken. Firstly, the problem lies in its size. Initial estimates indicated that the Tri-Eye Atlas could reach about 1,400 feet in length, which is already an impressive figure for interstellar objects. But as new data came in, scientists realized they had greatly underestimated its size. Now we are dealing with an object that may exceed 3 miles in length. For comparison, it is larger than most mountains. It is not just big, it is colossal compared to previous interstellar visitors. Oumuamua, the first confirmed interstellar object we discovered, was about 2,000 feet long. Borisov, the second object, was even smaller, and Tri-Eye Atlas could potentially be 1,000 times more massive than both of these objects combined. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb constantly raises alarms, pointing out that statistically, we should have seen dozens of smaller objects before encountering something so massive, and the fact that we haven't suggests something very unusual is happening. Moreover, the chemical composition of Tri-Eye Atlas puzzles scientists. When Tri-Eye Atlas began to glow a bright green in telescopes, astronomers were not too worried. Comets often turn green when carbon molecules in their outer layers are exposed to ultraviolet radiation from the sun. This is a well-known process associated with diatomic carbon. two carbon atoms bonded together. But here lies the big problem. Tri-Eye Atlas contains no diatomaceous carbon. Every large telescope observing this object has confirmed this. C2 is absent, so why does it glow green? According to our current understanding of physics and chemistry, this is impossible. What Tri-Eye Atlas has is an enormous amount of carbon dioxide, much more than a typical comet should contain. Most comets are primarily made of water ice with a small amount of carbon dioxide. But Tri-Eye Atlas is the complete opposite. It is filled with carbon dioxide and contains almost no water vapor. It's like finding a car that runs on orange juice instead of gasoline. Technically, it's possible, but completely unlike what we expected. The composition of metals leaves everyone puzzled. The Three Eyes of Atlas object ejects nickel into space, and it does so in large quantities. Comets do contain metals, but they only become visible when they approach the sun at a distance where the temperatures are high enough for the metals to evaporate. However, the Three Eyes of Atlas began to emit nickel, located far between Mars and Jupiter, where the temperature clearly does not allow this to occur naturally. Avalope noted something that makes the situation even more intriguing. Rocket engines are usually made from nickel alloys, and when they burn, they produce both nickel emissions and carbon dioxide. This is what we observe at the Three Eyes of Atlas. Avalope does not claim that it is definitely aliens, but poses difficult questions that other scientists seem unwilling to answer. The movement of the Three Eyes of the Atlas also causes confusion. Since its discovery in May, this object has maintained a nearly perfect straight trajectory, which may seem strange without understanding how real comets behave. When comets begin to heat up as they approach the sun, they release gas that acts like tiny solid engines, constantly pushing them through space. This is called non-gravitational acceleration and is a completely normal phenomenon. Borisov, the most ordinary of our interstellar guests, moved an average of more than 90 meters a day. Comet Hale-Bopp, one of the largest comets in our solar system, moved about 10 meters a day. But the Three Eyes of Atlas? Its movement fluctuated by only about 1.5 meters a day. This is incredibly stable for an object that is expected to be subjected to strong jolts from gas jets. He moves with such precision that it seems intentional, as if something is actively maintaining the course rather than just drifting in space. Now the most interesting part begins. Some researchers link the Three Eyes of Atlas to one of the greatest mysteries in the history of radio astronomy, the WOW signal. In 1977, astronomers at Ohio State University recorded an incredibly powerful radio signal that lasted exactly 72 seconds. It was so shocking that the scientist analyzing the data simply wrote "wow" on the printout. This signal was transmitted on the hydrogen line, 1420 megahertz, which is considered a universal frequency that any advanced civilization could use for communication across the galaxy. To transmit a signal through interstellar space, enormous amounts of energy were required, comparable to what could be obtained if one could harness the energy of a star. Here is a remarkable coincidence. Astronomers trace the trajectory of the Three Eyes of Atlas back through space, and it seems to have come from the same general direction as the WOW signal, from the constellation Sagittarius. In 1977, when the signal was detected, the Three Eyes of Atlas was on the outer edge of our solar system, far beyond Pluto's orbit. Could this object have announced its arrival nearly 50 years ago? It sounds like science fiction, but the mathematical correspondence is beyond doubt. Meanwhile, on Earth, a government shutdown continues, restricting NASA's public communications. More than 3,000 employees continue to work on the most important projects, primarily the Artemis program for lunar exploration, but scientific missions and public communications remain completely frozen. The European Space Agency has shown great transparency and confirmed that its orbital spacecraft exploring Mars successfully detected 3 objects, AMI Atlas, during its closest approach, but detailed results have not yet been published. The situation becomes even more suspicious due to its timing. The Trump administration proposed massive budget cuts to NASA's scientific research, almost 50%. Some lawmakers warn that such cuts could permanently damage America's ability to make leading discoveries in space science. 20 robotic missions currently operating throughout the solar system may be shut down forever, representing over $12 billion invested by taxpayers. Is the shutdown really a result of budget disputes? Is there something related to iAtlas that some people do not want the public to know? The European Space Agency represents our best hope for real answers. Their Mars Express and ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter were perfectly positioned to capture high-quality images and spectroscopic data during the flyby. In November, the ESA's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer will have another opportunity to observe AI Atlas as it continues its journey towards the Sun. But what's really interesting is that AI Atlas is now moving to the opposite side of the Sun from Earth. For the next few months, we will not have a direct view of this object. If it is indeed just a natural comet, we will see it on the other side, following predictable physics. But if it is something else that can change its course, we may find it in a completely different place. The scientific community remains deeply divided. Leading astronomers insist that AI Atlas is just an unusual but natural comet from another star system. They claim we are observing rare but explainable phenomena that are not yet fully understood. Jonathan McCall from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics stated that assumptions about artificial origins make real comet experts laugh. But Avi Loeb and his team from Harvard continue to ask uncomfortable questions. The statistical improbability of encountering such a massive object as our third interstellar guest, an inexplicable chemical composition, an incredibly stable trajectory, a connection to the signal WHO. Each of these pieces of evidence may have a natural explanation, but when combined, the picture becomes increasingly difficult to explain within the framework of traditional science. What we are observing may be the most significant moment in human history, the first contact with the technologies of another civilization. Or it could be an incredible natural phenomenon that will change our understanding of the workings of the universe. In any case, the American people deserve answers, not the silence of authorities at this critical moment. The truth about the comet Tri-I Atlas is located 18 million miles from Mars and is moving towards the Sun. Whether we will get these answers depends on whether our scientific institutions can overcome political interference and fulfill their primary task, to explore the unknown and share their discoveries with the world. What do you think is really happening with the comet Tri-I Atlas? Is this the most unusual comet ever discovered? Or are we witnessing something much more astonishing? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If this story impressed you, don't forget to like and follow our updates as we will cover this event as it unfolds.